Hello everybody, a warm welcome from me, Warwick Lydiate, speaking here at the Sangha house in Taunton in Somerset in the UK. Continuing my series on the Enneagram. For those of you who have been following this series, I hope you're enjoying them. Today, I want to answer a question today that's a kind of frequently asked question about the Enneagram. And then I want to delve into type 7. But first, just a little reminder that this diagram here represents the Enneagram, the figure of 9. 9 different, very different personality types, each with their own characteristics, their own agendas, their own approaches to life. Type 1, going around the circle. Type 1 is the reformer. Type 2, the helper. Type 3, the achiever. Type 4, the romantic. Type 5, the observer. Type 6, the loyal skeptic. Type 7, that we'll be looking at in a little more of a kind of a thumbnail sketch, but a little more detail, the adventurer. Next time, the asserter, and then type 9, the peacemaker. Those are the 9 types. As I said, one of the frequently asked questions that I get is, do we change our type? Does our type change from one to another? If me as a type 5 said, can I become a type 9? The simple answer to that is no. However, if you get a group of type 5s together, you would see that there'd be quite a lot of differences between them. Some of the differences we'll look at in later videos, looking at the kind of instincts when we get onto the instincts of the Enneagram, or the subtypes as they're sometimes called. They bring a lot of difference to each type. But there's also levels of development, and really that depends on how aware we are, how alert to the habits and the patterns that we get into, patterns of thinking, patterns of behaviour. Those are the things that really make a difference from within each type. So types can look very different, but our basic type remains the same. And we kind of get into these fixed positions through childhood and into adolescence as the habits and patterns begin to emerge. And by late teens and certainly early 20s, they're more or less fixed. But we can change, and awareness, mindfulness of these things is absolutely key to them. So let's move on to the type 7. Type 7 is the adventurer, and really we can contrast the type 7 with the 6. If the energy of the type 6 is maybe let's consider this, let's think about this, let's approach this with a little bit of caution, we need to look into this a little bit more carefully. That's what's behind the energy of the 6. With the 7, it's very different. It's not I'll think about it, or let's think about it. It's let's do it. Let's get in there and do it. The quest for adventure, the quest for the enjoyment of life. Sometimes it can feel for the type 7 as if the quest is for activity, the quest for doing. But certainly the sevens generally are kind of sunny with upbeat dispositions, looking very much usually on the positive side of life. So the approach of the 7, yes, I'll do it, let's do it. Not only do this, but we'll do this and this and this. And if there's time, there will be time. At the end of the day, we'll do that as well. We can fit it in. As we've seen already, the type 3 can be a little bit like this, but for completely different reasons. I remind you that the Enneagram explores motives. The quest of the 3 is to succeed and to be seen to succeed. The 7 is for adventure, the new challenge, what's new and exciting. So the 7s are generally very optimistic. Life is an experience to be had. Not so much looking back, very much looking forward to things. Life can be fast-paced, full and active. 7s, like the 3s, will make plans. It's been said that 7s eat life, but don't often taste it, or maybe not taste it. Very quick thinkers, fast learners, and can be very good at multitasking. 7s like to factor into the day some fun activities. When we come on to the 9, the peacemaker, the 9 likes to factor into their day some time to chill, some time to relax, some time for themselves to be at peace. The 7, it's time for fun. And they like to have in place a fun activity and to plan that into their day. 7s have an attractive energy about them that is very attractive to others. 7s tend to believe in themselves. Sometimes they don't even necessarily recognize their own abilities. Kind of moving on to the next thing, they won't always appreciate how good they've been, how excellent they've been at what they've done. So what are some of the challenges for the type 7? Life can get boring quite quickly if things are stagnant or on an even keel and nothing much is changing. They can get bored quite quickly. So there's often a need for the stimulus of something new, something exciting to get the teeth into. And boredom, the inactivity, can sometimes allow unwanted fears to creep in. We've been seeing how the 2, 3, and the 4 are the heart, the heart triad. The energy of the types 2, 3, and 4 comes from the heart. And part of that is a desire to be seen. So image is very important for the 2, 3, and the 4. For the 5, 6, and 7, these are head types. And the tendency can be to overthink. And overthinking can bring in unwanted fears. We'll come on to that in a moment. So that kind of, for the 7, the stagnation of life can can bring in boredom, but also start to overthink what can go wrong, what's going to happen that can go wrong. In that sense, it's a little bit like the type 6, for whom that's quite an important thing. 7s can sometimes find it hard to accept responsibilities for things that might go wrong, that may go wrong. They try and look to see a reason for it, but it's harder for themselves to see that they might be responsible for something that's if it's going wrong, either in the workplace or in the relationships. Also, in the boredom side of things, there can be a sense, I've been there and I've done that and got the T-shirt kind of thing. I'm looking for something new. Sometimes 7s in a kind of mad dash for life can seem impatient. Sometimes it can be impatient with people that don't keep up with them and the busy, fast pace of life. Huge flow of ideas. Often folk will appreciate the 7's creative mind as a flow of creative ideas and activities. And it's a struggle for others to kind of keep up with that, to keep up with what's going on. And another downside is that I've been taught not to use that word downside. These aren't downsides. These are challenges to think about. The challenge of constant activity is not letting the amazing event of this moment take a hold. To actually give the type 7 a chance to appreciate and enjoy and be happy in what's taking place at this moment, right now in time. So focused on the next moment, how important it is to focus on this moment and enjoy this moment as it is. So what does the 7 fear? What are the fears of the 7? Feeling trapped is one thing. Feeling restricted, a kind of lack of options. The 7 likes generally to feel they have lots of options, lots of possibilities open. So if those are restricted anyway, if those are narrowed down, and particularly no options, we have to do this, I've got to do this, I have to face up with that. That can make some type 7s feel quite vulnerable. Not having an escape plan, not having a plan for ongoing fun or excitement. Sometimes also, and I want to kind of bring a kind of conclusion to this, facing up to difficult or painful emotions in themselves or others. 7s are bright, sunlit uplands kind of people. They like the bright sunshine. They love the joy of the moment. So it's hard sometimes to face up to painful emotions in the self or in others. As you know, I've been taking little quotes from this beautiful book, Consolations, by David Whyte, poet and writer David Whyte. And the word I've selected today for the type 7 from his book, David Whyte redefines certain words, key words that he finds really interesting and important to focus on. The word from his book Consolations I've chosen today is the word shadow. The Enneagram owes quite a bit to the work of psychologist Carl Jung, not only in his archetypes, his psychological archetypes, many of which mirror the types of the Enneagram, but also his work in the shadow. He talked a lot about the shadow sides of personality. And David Whyte writes this: shadow is a necessary consequence of being in a sunlit, visible world. Even the most beneficial presence casts a shadow. Shadow is something that must be lived with. To live with our shadow is to understand how human beings live at the frontier between light and dark, and to approach the central difficulty that there is no possibility of a lighted perfection in this world. To cast no shadow on others is to vacate the physical consequences of our appearance in the world. Hope you've enjoyed this little excursion into the type 7. I shall be back very soon looking into type 8, the asserter. Bye for now.